Save the pleasantries. This is clearly not a picture, it's a video. And so I'm going to be touching upon what's well off. And then the opposite of well off would, of course, be what is unfortunate. And so I've noticed that I'm falling into the category where you can add points, but by adding points, you take away some sometimes. And if you're still watching this, it's not going to be long-winded. Psych. This clubhouse right beside me, it isn't one, but it's being ran as one. It's guy, pastor got COVID, and then he got past it, but then he got promoted to the archdiocese in Milwaukee. And this is, prominence at its finest. And so, like, this guy who was a deacon the whole time, I went to school with his kids, and he was like now a sidekick to the pastor. The new pastor he helped promote, and this new pastor is like this guy in his 30s from the College of Madison. And so is this whole show where you look at how disgusted he is because he sits right next to the pastor, and he looks like this kid doesn't know what he's talking about every time. And so he's just displaying this discomfort to the community and the congregation. And so it's kind of odd because when you have to put on like this whole show to display what's indignified, it isn't really addressing something head on. I should know. I'm not trying to be part of it. In my side note, this guy's wife, I went to school with their kids. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you should stop by sometime." Nothing was sinister about this. It's just that I've never had someone older than me say that to me. And it's in line with what someone who's closed-minded would think. It's not good to knock on people's doors. If you're caroling, go. If you have the right list of everyone in the church, you only could carol at these people's houses. And if someone says, "Oh, this other person, they go to here at church," they'd be checking the list. No, they don't. As if they know everyone who goes to a church on any given Sabbath day, and gives you like this deduction list. It's these values in what's accepted and not. In values of human nature, there's the marketplace, and then there's discovery of price. And this is a reflection of human nature, but it's to the T of like black mold. We're gonna bulldoze an entire place because it has black mold in it, and we don't know how else to handle it. Is the same as like crossing someone suggested off the list nowadays because you don't see them on a register of members of a church. This is where the wild, wild west aggression meets the common day cancel culture, but from verbally. And this is through finding a least common denominator and subsiding to that because you can't think outside of the box. You're not willing to. It's like a hermit. But then it's people who are less fortunate. As I was saying, I have these two cousins, and one of them I've never seen in real life. I was told they're called troublemakers, but this is from my family who gossips. I only learned from gossiping that there was a rumor I told a person that they're not smart, they didn't graduate college, and how do they feel not being able to complete a math problem? Would never say this, but apparently half of them think I did. And then when it is to the point of his brother, I've only said like a handful of sentences to, and he just had like this laugh that was funny. And him and his brother, they don't show up at any of these events. I'm in like odds with one of these people, their wedding, because I don't want to be a person that they point at in a picture and say, this person was a jerk. Because I've seen my mom's picture of her wedding, and she does it at this one person every time. And whether I know that or not, I don't know. It's just, it looks like this the most important guy in the wedding because that's all she focuses on. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to be that because I already have this thing that happened at the last event, and I barely made it because I'm at odds financially to pay for a $21 flower. Right before you're about to go, you say, this $21 flower, for me, I'm not a guy who can do this kind of thing. I'm not as struggling with the gas to get there. And then, so these two people knew that I was struggling financially. They dig their heels in the ground the moment that gossip can come up in of occurrence. And this is where I laughed at someone because they had an accent. And this is where I grew up in New England. If you didn't know, in the whole family, I'm the only person who didn't attend 4 years of high school. And in the 4 years of high school is the most memorable moments in anyone's life. You stop growing and you just look at the world around you. Even if it's negative, it's the most memorable in one's life. And so everyone, I had 2 classes in the middle of high school. I had to move from New England into Wisconsin. And so I get there, there's like this Taco Bell. These 2 girls come up to me, hug me. I'm like, oh my gosh, both of them are named Lindsay. I'm on cloud 9. They bulldozed the whole Taco Bell later. It had E. coli, allegedly. Everyone around town was saying that it has E. coli. And so people stopped going there. And so not only did they have to shut it down, they had to bulldoze it because everyone thought that E. coli was there. So there's these business managers who are aligned with the same thing of like taking as much precaution ahead of time to the point where it's irrational. And so this is what my grandma was saying too. In the past, everything was more simpler. And then nowadays it's more convoluted because it's more complex. This is Entropy 101. And it's where in the past we had these milkmen. They would go to houses. Everyone would get a newspaper thrown at their house. We had these doctors. Doctors would be going to your house too. Nowadays, it's just people who are well off has anesthesiologists do it, or you get this webcam for a premium with the doctor over the phone. And, you know, that same day that this problem had occurred, it was, I'm never going to laugh at another accident again, but I know exactly that it wasn't forced in any way, mean-spirited. I had been laughed at most of my life. As a kid, I had a speech impediment, so I know every which way around what someone goes about with class or not with class when it comes to what something is funny in tonality and delivery. So I saw the eyes of everyone, and they just were coming at me from that low standpoint of this guy is not good. And it's only because I wasn't well off. And I know that because later on that day, there was this couple who was well off, and they made a joke about location too. They said that this person looks like he's dressed. He got these clothing from New York. He's got this long black coat, this golf fancy black hat, and he looked like he came right out of the Big Apple, and he's standing inside the country in the Midwest. No one laughed, no one batted an eye, because the person who made that comment was more well off than I was. period. And if you're to ask me personally, what's more disrespectful? Is it you indirectly laughing at someone, or is it a direct notion of implementing a statement? The statement is more direct and it's therefore more offensive. This is my own opinion, and so I'm allowed to have one. This whole thing, there's black mold in a school. It's like the bigger the school and the more population there is there, that's more of a want to bulldoze the whole school down because it's a bigger value. And we all have these things. It's you crystallize a society and you point out where's the best croissants to go to, and then you point out where's the places that you've heard of have E. coli and black mold, and you put it on your radar and it's crystallized. These are things that are in the moment, but if you're in the moment with a closed mind, you're always going to subside to a lowest common denominator. Don't knock on anyone's of your neighbor's door if you like their car. Forbid that it has like a for sale sign and you knock on the door, ask about it. Even if it doesn't have a for sale sign, you just like their car. Knocking on their door is frowned upon. It is if you're closed-minded because you're against gun rights, because you see there's gun problems and you think everyone has a gun, and you hear the thing about Trayvon Martin, and now all of a sudden you think it's invading privacy knocking on your neighbor's door. They're like, it's common sense. And anyways, I just thought that, I'd not throw anyone under the bus, so I didn't name any names, but is better than a steel shot. This icebreaker, someone used it on me. They're saying that your siblings, I love looking at their videos of their travels. They always make nice ones. I'm like, I'm going to try and make one myself.